Dad left me our house when he died, but my mom kicked me out to live with her new family. 15 years later, I tried to take my house back, but they're threatening me, so I brought cops. Hey everyone! Before we dive in, I have a quick favor to ask. If you enjoy content like this, please hit the subscribe button. It's free, supports the channel, and ensures you never miss out on amazing videos. Alright, let's get started. I am 24M. Let me start off by saying I was kicked out by my mom because she needed to impress her new husband. Okay, if kicked out seems a little harsh, we can say she moved me out of my own house and made me live with my grandparents, father's side. I have all the good memories until my dad was alive. Unfortunately, we lost him when I was 7. As a kid, I felt devastated. I was very close to my dad, and sending him off inside a coffin broke my heart. I still remember that moment very clearly, and it saddens me till date. While I was still processing the loss, my mom showed up with another man and insisted I call him Dad. I was like, no way. I don't know if I was right or wrong, but I just didn't feel right calling him Dad just within a few months of my own father's demise. After that first meeting, I often found him in my mom's bedroom, and it was difficult to see how quickly my mom had moved on. She didn't even wait for a year before bringing my dad's replacement to the house. I was not ready to accept him as my dad's replacement. I had recently turned 8 when they planned their beautiful wedding. They had put up a pretty huge wedding for second-timers. Anyways, none of my business. She left me with my grandparents as she went on her honeymoon. A month passed by, but she didn't turn up. I kept asking my grandparents when would Mom come to pick me up, but they didn't have any answer. Then suddenly she showed up one day. I was so excited to see her after so long. I rushed to hug her, but she had brought all my belongings to dump me at my grandparents'. I was heartbroken, to say the least. I lived with my grandparents until high school. I was happy with them. My mom used to show up sometimes, only to tell me how much she loved me and cared for me. Sometimes I used to question her that if she loved me so much, why had she dumped me at my grandparents'? She had no answer. She would try to cover it up by saying, "Oh, your grandparents are turning old. They need a helping hand to run their groceries and dump out their trash." It was much later that she admitted the actual reason. She had given my room to her stepchildren. Bill, Mom's husband, had 2 children who moved into our house with Bill after their wedding. My mom prioritized her new family over me. It was natural for me to get resentful of her. So eventually, I stopped bothering her. After high school, I moved out from my grandparents, but I still visit them often. They were kind of saviors for me. They raised me. If not for them, my childhood would have been ruined. Now I'm 24. After working for a year in marketing, I thought of starting my own venture. I needed capital for that, so I thought of leasing my house. Oh, if I didn't mention this before, there's a bummer on the way for my mom and her loving family. Actually, the house in which they are living belongs to me. Yeah, that's right. My dad made a will on his deathbed, and he very meticulously gave me every penny he had, including the house. I was a kid when his lawyer read his will after his funeral, but with the look on my mother's face, I can surely say that she was not liking it at all. Later, I got to know that she tried several times to overturn the will, but she lost it every time. My dad had made the will very precisely, that the house would be mine, but I can sell it only after I turn 21. Until then, no one touches the property. My grandparents think that Dad would have probably foreseen Mom's plan, and that's why he made a rigid will. Else she might have manipulated me in my childhood to give away the house to her. Last month, I called Mom to inform her about my plan of leasing out the house, but she didn't answer my calls. This week, when I went to meet my grandparents, I told them I was planning to make some extra bucks from the house. They gave a weird reaction. I asked them what's the matter. They said I might have to face a lot of resistance to vacate the house from Mom because her stepdaughter is pregnant with a teenage boy who has run away from his responsibilities. Also, Bill has lost his full-time job and is working at a store in the evening. So basically, they are in bad shape financially now. I really don't know what to do. I mean, I also need that house now. I have quit my job, and I need capital to start my business. Update 1. It became quite dramatic, picking up from where I left. Like I said, my grandparents informed me that Mom and her family are going through a rough patch, so they might not vacate my house. I thought I'd inform Mom about my plan and give them a few months' time to put their life together. Before that, I was thinking of giving a month's notice, but knowing their situation, I thought of giving 3 to 4 months. Since Mom was not answering my call, I went to meet her at home. The house was nothing as before, and neither was my mom. Both had a cold vibe. Maybe she had sensed the motive behind my visit. On seeing me at the door, she gave out a fake smile and half-hearted hug. Mind you, we were meeting after almost a decade. Yeah, she stopped visiting me after I entered my teenage years. I had turned bitter towards her. Why would I not? Even though we met after so many years, she didn't bother to ask me how I had been. She was not interested in knowing anything about me. It was like, "Oh, you're here. Must have been something important that brought you to my doors." The pleaser in me said, "Oh no, nothing important. Just came to check on you. It's been a long time." She smiled and said, "Sure it is." A wave of silence followed for another 5 minutes, until I stood up to leave. It was definitely unpleasant. I didn't feel welcomed at all. Besides Mom, my pregnant stepsister was also home, and she too gave me a very bad look, as if I was there to create some sort of trouble. For the moment, I dropped the idea of taking back the house. I explored other means of arranging the money for my business. but Mom crossed all limits of narcissism. Last week was my dad's 15th death anniversary. My grandparents held a small prayer ceremony at the church. Since I was in town, I decided to have a decent ceremony by feeding the poor and giving off some gifts to the underprivileged children. I invited my friends and relatives for the prayer. I emailed the invite to Mom as well, but she didn't respond. When I traced the history of the mail, I found she hadn't opened it. This was my first mail to her. I thought it went to a spam folder or something, so I showed up at her house again. This time, Mom wasn't at home. My stepsister Brenda answered the door. No hello, no greetings, a straight question slapped on my face. You're back again? What's the matter? I said I was there to meet Mom. She said, with the way she spoke to you last time, do you think she wants to meet you again? She said it so bluntly that I couldn't get what she said, and I spit it out that I was there to invite Mom for the prayer ceremony of my dad. She chuckled in my face and said, that was like centuries ago. You're still holding that up? Get over it. I said, excuse me, he was my dad, and it's none of your business to comment. She rolled her eyes and pushed off to her room. I sat there like an idiot for a few more minutes, and then I left a note for Mom at the table. I asked her to call me back. She called me the next day, and I told her about the prayer ceremony. She remained quiet for a minute, and then said she would not be able to make it because she had to take her Brenda for a checkup. That was a bummer. I mean, she could have said that she would try, but turning it down outrightly was disappointing. I replied sarcastically, yeah, of course, they are your priority. We are no one to you. So be it. Good luck raising that narcissistic woman and her bastard child. She flipped out that I used that word. I said, why would I be nice to her when she was so mean to me? She made fun of my emotions. To defend her, Mom said it was natural for her to get furious. You can't talk about the dead in front of a pregnant woman. You're such an insensitive dud like your father. The moment she said that, I lost my mind. I yelled at her that she should not talk trash about my father. If anyone who's insensitive here, it has to be you, the way you were talking about my dead father. She said, your father died 15 years ago, goddamn, get over it. I said, sure, the way you did within weeks, or maybe days, who knows. You know what? You don't need to come. My father would not like your prayer after seeing your true colors. I hung up the phone saying this. The same day, I hired a lawyer and started the process of sending a legal notice of eviction. The lawyer took some 15 days to validate my dad's will and send the notice to Mom. As expected, when the eviction notice reached them, she freaked out. Apparently, she never thought I would go to such lengths to extract my revenge on her for not attending Dad's prayer ceremony. I laughed at her voicemail and blocked her. When she couldn't contact me anywhere, she showed up at my grandparents' place. I wasn't there at that time. Oh yeah, I'm living with my grandparents again until I put my life together. My mother requested my grandparents to convince me to withdraw the eviction notice. My grandparents are calm and nice people. That's why they didn't throw her out. They said they don't have any say in this. It's my property, and I get to do anything I want. Fair enough. The answer didn't go well with her, and she blamed my grandparents for raising me as an entitled brat. Really, what was she smoking when she said that? I asked my grandma why she did not say anything to my narcissistic mom. Grandparents were like, we don't want to mess up with such a woman. I said, I want to mess up, and now I'm not going to let them live in my house for one extra day. I gave the eviction notice as per the tenants' law in the country. Though they are not tenants, they ain't paying any rent to me. On top of that, I'm the one paying the property taxes every year. So legally, I'm entitled to throw them out right away. My grandparents are God-fearing people. They talked me out of this idea. They said, for the sake of the Lord, give them that 1 month to find another shelter. There's a pregnant woman there, and we shouldn't pull her into the streets. I sighed. That she didn't need any help either. She was equally toxic. My grandparents were like, so be it. She might be a sinner, but her unborn is not. Don't be cruel to that little creature. They convinced me to wait, else I was adamant to evict them on that very day. The next day I got a call from Mom. I ignored it. She did the same to me when I was calling her. She messaged me to talk. It's urgent. I responded to check out my calendar and meet me at grandparents at my open slot. This didn't go well with her. She sent a long reply that I was trying to throw weight on her. What did I do with her 5-paragraph mail? Nothing. That's right. I didn't respond. She might have got the hint that I was not going to give in to her pressure. Throughout my childhood, whenever I used to cry or throw tantrums for going home, instead of loving me, she would scold me and ask me to behave. She would petrify me to be a good lad and not throw tantrums. This was her parenting style, and it worked. In order to keep her happy and not mess up with her, I would stop sobbing. But after she left, I would sulk at the corner of the house for hours. Not anymore. It's time for her to sulk. But sadly, she won't have a corner to herself. So she came to meet me, and I deliberately made her wait for an hour. She got anxious. I asked my grandparents to stay out of it. She kept asking them about me. They said they don't know and swiftly pushed back to their room. When I arrived to meet her, she gave me a look of, where the hell were you? I've been waiting here for an hour. But she didn't say anything. She sat there with a straight face. People in her situation would have tried to please me, but she remained solid on her grounds. She said, okay, let me start. I can't sit here forever. I have jobs to do. I murmured under my breath, oh sure you do. Finding a house is a difficult job. She gave me an annoyed look and said, what is this notice about? I replied, It is written in English. I'm sure you can read that. Or do you want me to do that for you? She was absolutely pissed off. She threw the notice at my face and said she was not going to vacate the house on the basis of some stupid notice. After she was done yelling, I said, then let's wait and witness the repercussions of not following the court order. She was like, I gave birth to you. Don't you try to outsmart me. That house is of my husband and no one can throw me out from there. I said, surely a legal heir can. I was responding to her calmly in order to piss her off, and she did get pissed off. But the moment she referred to my dad as her husband, I lost my mind. Really? You have the audacity to call him your husband when you skipped his prayer saying he was history? You don't deserve his house. You are just squatters, and I'm going to free that house from all leeches. She stood up and said she was being nice to me, and now I'll have to deal with her lawyer. I laughed and said, sure, by all means. We still have 20 days to go. Let's see what next she pulls up from her sleeves. Update 2. I got the house. After a lot of tussle, like I mentioned in my earlier post, I gave 30 days notice to Mom and her family to evict the house. She came to me and tried to gaslight the entire thing. I shut her down and she leaves. The next series of events was nothing but pure narcissism by them. Could you believe that her stepdaughter Brenda came charging at me, and on top of that, threatened to press a harassment case on me? She was playing her pregnancy victim card like I can do anything I want because I'm carrying a child inside me. I said a woman's pregnancy is not a ticket to get away with your nuisance. She tried to mess up with my grandparents until we showed her the camera installed across the house. I said, one more time you set your foot here, I'm going to get you arrested. Then comes my mother to defend her golden stepdaughter. She accused me of abusing and mentally torturing her pregnant Brenda. She said she was going to sue me for this. I said, sure, let the judge decide based on the camera footage. When she could no longer win through force, she mellowed down. She started sobbing and said, what did she do wrong in raising me that I became a self-centered individual? She started blaming herself for not raising me properly. She even brought my dead father into it and said it was his fault that he died so early and didn't give me a proper upbringing. I said, hold on. If anyone is to be blamed, it has to be you. Not for raising me wrong, because you never raised me. I was raised by my grandparents, and they did a pretty good job. You should feel sorry for abandoning me. But you know what? I'm glad you didn't raise me. I see how badly you've raised your stepdaughter. I brought up her teen pregnancy. I know I shouldn't have done moral policing, but in the moment of rage, I did. Naturally, she got furious at me. I realized I had overstepped my boundaries, so I remained quiet after that. I said I didn't want to get into any further talks, I just wanted my property back. I had let them live there for free for so many years. Now I really need it. I tried to make her understand my situation, that I had quit my job and needed money to start my business, so I would be leasing the house. She flipped out that I was throwing them out only to let other strangers live there. I said, the other strangers are going to pay me rent. If you agree to pay, you can live there. She again freaked out that I was bringing money into the family matters. I said, there ain't any family here. You threw me away like a pile of garbage and hardly checked on me. My birthdays, Christmas, Thanksgiving, you barely showed up, and even when you did, you made me feel that you were doing me a favor. What kind of mother does that? A mother like you, right? She tried all means to manipulate me, gaslighting, guilt-tripping, and her usual anger. When she understood that I got no chills, she left. You guys are thinking they vacated the house after that? A big no. They didn't. Mom's loser husband was yet to come into the picture. That she-headed man sent me a voicemail. Dude, you don't know who you are messing up with. I can deadlift you and make you plead for your life. One punch on your face and you're going to forget about the house. You show up at my door again and I'm going to knock you out. That dude is big and he loves to flaunt it. I don't know much about him, but my grandparents cautioned me not to mess up with him. He is a bully, sure he is, but he is dumb as shesh. He laid out the evidence against himself by threatening me over voicemail. I didn't respond to him because I wanted a bigger dude to handle him, the cops. On the supposed day of eviction, I went to the station and registered a case of threats. I had solid evidence. My lawyer walked down with me to the station and requested the cops to accompany us for the eviction. Initially, they were not ready to come. They said, call us if they cause trouble. But we didn't want to deal with the squatters by ourselves. Some cash helped in getting them on board, and they accompanied us. When I reached the house with my lawyer, Mom, Bill, and Brenda started cussing us. Her loser husband even came out with a hockey stick, but as soon as they saw the cop vehicle behind our car, he stepped back. The cops showed them the eviction notice and asked them to leave. They were so confident of chasing me out that they didn't even pack their stuff. They asked the cops to give them a further 1 month's time. The cops looked at me and I said, no way, not after all these threats. They started using Brenda's pregnancy to buy a few more days, but I put my foot down and said no. I got some weird looks from the cops, like I was insensitive, but I was following the legal route, so no one had any say. They further bargained to give a day's time. I said, 3 hours from now. They gave me looks of bitterness. Bill even tried to brush his shoulder against me with red eyes. The cops yelled, get moving, more packing and less giving looks. We all left after that. The cops asked them to hand over the keys at the station, from where I would pick it up. We had to pay the cops extra bucks to facilitate this, and it was completely worth it. Who wants to deal with those squatters? My lawyer suggested I take a restraining order against them on the property in case they want to come back and harass me or the tenants. They're well capable of doing that. We took it, and the cops shared a copy of the restraining order with them and explained the consequences of violating it. The penis on their faces was unmissable. So finally, I got the house, and I have put it up for lease. I hope to get a good deal, and I'm able to start my business as soon as possible. Enough of dealing with the she-headed people. This would mostly be my last update, unless they come back to mess up with me again. Thanks for reading this and supporting me throughout. Now on to the next story. Story 2. Caught my high school sweetheart cheated on me with her college professor after 8 years together, so I got him fired and ruined her career. Now I'm single and don't know how to move on. I, 25 male, recently found out that my girlfriend, 25 female, has been cheating on me with a college professor. I'm honestly still shocked and hurt by the news. She completely broke my trust, and I don't know how I'm supposed to move on. She and I were high school sweethearts. I've known her my entire life. We even used to have playdates together as children. When we got into high school, we started dating in our sophomore year and had been together ever since. Everybody thought that we were going to be together forever. We were even voted as the best couple every year during high school. She got into an Ivy League college in our state, but my grades have never been close to what hers were. While she was in college, I took a job at a realtor firm, planning on getting my license when I knew the industry a little bit better. We would always visit each other on the weekends because we weren't too far away. But I had some concerns while she was in college. I never thought that she was cheating on me then, but I felt insecure about the possibility of it. Honestly, both of us came from nothing, and I was worried she would realize she could do better with her life and leave me. I thought that when she got into this fancy Ivy League school, some rich lacrosse player was going to sweep her off her feet, and she would forget all about me. She would reassure me whenever she could tell that I was feeling bad, so I stopped worrying. When she graduated with her undergraduate degree, the school offered her a faculty position that allowed her to pursue her graduate degree at no cost. It was too good of an opportunity to pass up, even though it meant that we would be apart longer. Her job was to assist one of the professors in her department with his research. He was a prominent researcher in their field, and he had a team of students working under him and doing all of the actual work that he was taking credit for. Because of her new job, we couldn't even see each other on the weekends. Every now and then, I would come up and surprise her, but she was always so stressed and so tired from her work that we never had any fun. However, when I did get the chance to talk to her, all she would talk about was her professor. She idolized him like he was the lead singer of some rock band. At first, I thought it was just professional admiration. But when I saw a picture of both of them in one of the school's newsletters, I started to raise my eyebrows. It was a harmless article highlighting the research that the chemistry department had been doing. Inside the article, there were different pictures of the students doing the research, as well as some candid shots of everybody while they were working. I happened to notice that in one of the pictures, his hand was resting on my girlfriend's lower back. For some people, that's a harmless gesture, but seeing her much older male professor doing that to her brought up a lot of red flags for me. Shortly after seeing the image, I gave her a call and asked her about it straight up. She laughed at me and told me that I had nothing to worry about, and that I was just in my own head and feeling insecure like I always was. She and I rarely fought, but the way she phrased her statements made me pretty angry, and we got into a huge argument about it. After 2 days of not talking, I caved in and called her and apologized, and it seemed like everything was going to be good from there. Our anniversary was coming up, and we had originally planned for her to take the entire weekend off so we could spend it together. I was halfway to her apartment when she called me and told me she wasn't able to step away from the lab. I pulled over on the side of the road and talked to her about it, telling her how disappointed I was that she wasn't putting her foot down about it, since this meant so much to us. She promised me that she would make it up to me the following weekend and told me just to turn around and go home. I was closer to her apartment than I was to my house, so I just carried on moving forward. I figured that if she was stressed out and tired, I could at least order some takeout for her and spend a few hours with her before leaving. When I got to her apartment, I unlocked the door with the spare key that I had, and right away, I realized that she was home. She had told me on the phone that she would be at the lab for most of the night, so that was a surprise. I could smell food, and I could hear giggling coming from her bedroom. I walked further in and saw that there had been a meal recently cooked. 2 plates were on the table, and a half-empty bottle of wine accompanied them. My heart completely sank into my stomach. Just as I had suspected, there was definitely something going on. I didn't know who it was, but she clearly had somebody there for a romantic night, and they were in bed with her. I cautiously approached her door and opened it to find her in bed with her professor on top of her. They didn't notice me right away, but when I spoke up and asked what was going on, he jumped off her, and she quickly ran up to me and tried to calm me down. It was almost comical how hard the professor was trying to hide his face from me. Clearly, he didn't want me to tell anyone about what I saw. I stormed out of her apartment, dropping my spare key on the ground before I left. I never wanted to go back there again. It was a lot for me to process. For the first few days after it happened, I was practically dead to the world. I had planned on marrying my girlfriend, and before I even had a chance to propose, she threw 8 years of a relationship away. We could have had a love story to tell our grandchildren about, but she ruined it. After I got myself together, I realized that I needed to move on by getting a little revenge of my own. Obviously, the professor did not want me to see who he was because he was afraid of losing his job. I knew that once the headlines were out about a notable professor taking advantage of his college students, he would never find another job in the industry again. I called the HR department of the university and told them about what I saw. They told me they would be launching an investigation. I knew it would be my word against his, and I unfortunately didn't get any evidence. A week passed and nothing happened. I assumed they were sweeping it under the rug, so I called a local newspaper, and they were very interested in the scandal. It didn't take long for me to finally see the news that he had been fired. I hadn't spoken to my ex since the night I found her in bed with her professor, but her parents were furious with me about outing the relationship. Apparently, since the professor she was hired to work for no longer worked at the university, she didn't have a job. That meant that they would either have to shell out tens of thousands of dollars for her graduate degree, or she would no longer be enrolled. She ended up having to drop out because they couldn't afford to take out any more loans for her. She is out of my life completely, but I still don't know what I'm supposed to do moving forward. She was the first and only woman I've been with, and I'm a little afraid to get back out there.